Holy crap. BlackRock, Larry Fink, they just had record inflows into the Bitcoin ETFs. This is pretty crazy news coming after hours. I've already made several videos today, but I felt like I need to make another one because of what just came through the news. If you want to stay through to the end of the video, I would highly suggest it. I will get through what BlackRock did, some other news in the crypto market, why Bitcoin isn't moving right now, even with all this buying from BlackRock, what's actually happening behind the scenes. And we'll take a look at the last thing that Larry Fink has said about Bitcoin. If you don't mind, hit subscribe, hit the like button, turn on the bell notification so you can see future videos as soon as they come out. If you want to trade crypto, there's a link to Margex. As I've said 100 times, I think this is the time to be trading. I know some people hear that and they just hear it day after day, and then they never take action. It kind of just goes to the back of their mind. But I guarantee you will feel FOMO, and you would be better to start trading now, understand how to trade, than to wait until the very top of the market and then FOMO in and get wrecked. So this is the time to be trading. As I said, we're at all-time highs. We're like right below them. When we break out, the train's leaving the station and you'll want to be on the train. Some of my positions are up 250%, 96%, 101%, 418%. So if you want to trade, there's a link to Margex. You can also use different forms of collateral. So you can use like Bitcoin for Bitcoin trades. You can use Solana as collateral for Bitcoin trades, USDT as collateral, which allows you a lot of different options that other platforms don't have. Now, before we get to BlackRock and some of the unprecedented stuff that they just announced, MicroStrategy. They announced a $42 billion capital plan, including $21 billion at the money equity offering and a target of raising $21 billion in fixed income securities. So they're going to dilute and raise funds and get $42 billion for the next 3 years. I think it's important to remember a couple different things. Just to put this in perspective, they've been able to buy about $10 billion worth of Bitcoin over the last 4 years. They're talking about doing 40% more than this every year for the next 3 years. Now, they're about a $50 billion market cap right now. So, I mean, they're talking about just about doubling, right? Of course, a lot of their market cap then will come down to what kind of premium do they have? Are they still going to have that 2.5, 3 time premium that they have right now? Or does that get eaten up a little bit? Keep in mind, though, their goal is to buy more Bitcoin. It's not to try to become the largest market cap out there. Of course, that will come, but their goal is to buy Bitcoin. Right? So as time goes on, they'll be able to get more and more debt. They'll be able to buy more and more Bitcoin. This would allow them to buy more than the daily issuance of Bitcoin every single day until the next halving. Keep in mind that would be at today's prices. So maybe if Bitcoin's trading at 140,000, they buy half of the daily issuance. For example, but this is a huge amount of capital. This would make the next bear market very interesting because if they did this just continuously, which I'm sure they're going to take advantage at opportune times when, for example, their premium is quite high, this would set kind of a bottom possibly. It's like a company that has a ton of free cash flow and maybe there's some negative sentiment, but they can go back and buy their own shares and it kind of sets a floor price. This happens with some of the major tech companies. This could happen here where, yeah, there's some fear about Bitcoin, but MicroStrategy is willing to go out there and buy $35 to $40 million worth of Bitcoin every single day. So this could be quite interesting for the bull market and the bear market. And after this came out, Michael Saylor's MicroStrategy fell down pretty drastically. Since the bottom, though, they're up 9.5%. Like after their earnings came out, they just dumped and then they came right back up. There's just tons of volume being traded on MicroStrategy these days. You know what also has a lot of volume? BlackRock. Yesterday, BlackRock's IBIT ETF traded and had $600 million of inflows. Today, they broke records and they had $875 million in inflows. $875 million. This is absolutely insane. This is the record, to be clear. This is the record for daily inflows. This is even from the beginning, right? When we had all those inflows at the beginning of the year, this breaks the record. Nearly $1 billion of inflows. They bought 12,123 Bitcoin. Take a look at this wick at the end. Very quick at first, then it tapered off, and now it's spiking up. Like literally there's a curve at the end that goes almost straight up. Keep in mind, they've been just swallowing up hundreds of millions of dollars of Bitcoin every single day. Now, at this pace, there's not going to be a ton of Bitcoin left. Keep in mind, if they buy $200 million worth of Bitcoin every single trading day, that's about $50 billion of Bitcoin throughout the year. Now, at today's prices, there's about $140 billion worth of Bitcoin on exchanges. Not all that's being sold. A lot of it is, though, or would be willing to be sold. So this is a huge amount of buying. Now, some people might say, well, why isn't the price going up then? Like, okay, iBit buys $1 billion worth of Bitcoin. I don't care. I'm still pissed off because we're not at all-time highs. You promised me all-time highs. Now, I think we have to be patient because remember, we were just at 65,000 literally a week ago. Then, a couple weeks before that, we were down at 59,000. A month before that, 53. A month before that, we were down at 50. So we really have moved up quite quickly. We went from 50,000 up to 72,000. That's a 44% gain in a very short time span. Now, recently, the ETFs have been buying up a lot, but keep in mind, there are some people that are just cautious right now. Even if we're not seeing it with the ETFs, there are some people that are cautious ahead of the US elections. They feel comfortable, depending on who the president is, to invest in Bitcoin and crypto, but if they're wrong, or if the person that they think is going to be good for crypto doesn't get voted into office, well, they think that could be bad, right? Their bag could get nuked. So they're waiting for the elections to clear up. They're waiting for the Fed's next rate decision. They're waiting for PCE tomorrow. There are various reasons for people to wait. I don't think that's the best idea because I think all roads lead to Bitcoin, and Bitcoin typically does really well. I think it'll do well over the next couple years or the next year, no matter who the president is. I think it will still go up pretty significantly. So I'm not waiting, but I can see why some people would be waiting. And that can also cause some people to want to take profits ahead of the election, right? Some people are up 3-4x on Bitcoin. So they're taking a little bit of profit, or they're maybe betting against it. There are a lot of shorts that will get liquidated when we go to all-time highs as well. So that doesn't surprise me that we're not breaking to new all-time highs. We've moved up quite quickly recently, and I think there are going to be some people taking profits just naturally. Now, I want to play this. This is the last time that we saw Larry Fink speak on Bitcoin here.
As you know, I was a skeptic. Yes. I was a proud skeptic. And I studied it, learned about it, and I came away saying, okay, my opinion 5 years ago was wrong. Here's my opinion today. This is what I believe in today. I believe the opportunity today. I believe Bitcoin is legitimate. I'm not trying to say there's not misuses like everything else, but it is a legitimate financial instrument that allows you to have maybe uncorrelated, non-correlated type of returns. I believe it is an instrument that you invest in when you're more frightened, though. It is an instrument when you believe that countries are debasing their currency, debasing their currency by excess deficits, and some countries are.
Okay, so something kind of interesting there is he says that I believe you invest in it when you're uncertain, when you're worried about the future. So maybe in political uncertainty, when there's uncertainty with wars, but also you invest in it when countries are debasing, which a lot of the time they might debase, like a lot of people think is going to happen with Trump. They might debase to try to get out of debt, right? So we might actually have a very strong economy and they're debasing, and that's when you want to buy Bitcoin, right? So it's kind of interesting. There's more uncertainty on one side where, financial markets could fall, and he's saying that's a good time to be buying Bitcoin. But also, if the economy is doing really well and, countries are printing a lot of money, there's a lot of stimulus, that's another time to buy Bitcoin. So basically, buy Bitcoin no matter what. It's kind of interesting how he phrased that.
We have countries where you're frightened of your everyday existence, and if you have an opportunity to invest in something that is outside your country's control, then you can have more financial control. And so I'm a major believer that there is a role for Bitcoin in portfolios. I believe you're going to see that as one of the asset classes that we all look at. I look at it as digital gold, as I said before, and I do believe there's a real need for everyone to look at it as one alternative to, I would say, the optimism that I have in the world. If you want to hedge hope, Bitcoin is not an instrument for hope unless you're hopeful you're going to make a lot of money on it. But I look at it as a vehicle in which you're expressing your financial acumen in something that you're more frightened of the world, you're more frightened of your existence. And I believe there's a great industrial use for it. And I think a lot of people are missing that.
So invest in Bitcoin when you're uncertain, when there's fear in the market, when you don't know what your government's going to do. But also, it's historically done really well when M2 money supply has gone up or when countries are printing. And I'm sure he's getting that across to customers as well, or clients. So I think now is just a very good time to be in Bitcoin. Again, I think there's big news happening. It seems like every few hours right now. That's why I'm posting the 4th video of the day, not because of anything besides the fact that there's just huge news, huge buys, huge companies talking about Bitcoin. And I want to make sure you understand what's happening behind the scenes so that you don't miss the train. If you want to see more videos like this, hit subscribe. If you want to trade crypto, there's a link underneath the video to Margex. I really do appreciate it. Let me know your thoughts. I'll see you all in the next one.